It's not me, it's not Joe, contrary to what you might think. So we are, because we are. Computas ergo sum, right? Descartes joke. We still have time in our break, okay. All right. Fully Iron Man compatible. Now I asked, I have a company to sign named Stark Network, and I asked a trademark fellow that, is this legal that I have a company with Stark, because there's another company, Stark Industries, right? And, he said, well, you have an advantage over them. I'm actually real. Yeah. So unless I get into the space of making pretend things that don't really happen, that don't really exist, that are not actually. However, the price of the Stark Industries itself that could be an issue. And it's taken over by black. So we done with the break? Huh? Yeah. Because I have about 750 slides. So now who knows that there's a fellow named Elliot. I don't recall his first name. I barely recall his last name. But he was historically significant. I'd say his name was John Elliot. Or Stephen Elliot. What was his significance? I was talking to somebody earlier about it. He's the fellow that spoke before Abraham Lincoln at the Gettysburg Address. Okay. No one so, not to say that the guys who went before me were him, and also not to say that I am anything like Abe Lincoln. So, but I will keep it hopefully shorter and succinct. Not that their content wasn't valuable, but we've been sitting here a long time, and my brain is getting older and hard to absorb quite a few things. Pardon me?
If you have been around since the beginning, you can't remember that time.
Yeah. So my name is Michael Stark. I'm Xamarin certified. I work for Microsoft, and I've been working there for about 18 months. So it's a great place to work if you want to stay really busy and travel a lot and feel really fulfilled in a job. It's a great place to work, but I mean really busy. They have the term drinking from a fire hose. That doesn't do it justice. So we're here because we love apps. Now, we love apps because most likely we wrote them, and we're the only people who love them. Not even our mothers love them. So even when I bought my mother the phone itself, she never did download my apps. So we love our apps. But the 189 million downloads of apps a day. So it's other people are loving apps too. And on our phones, we spend about 200 minutes on the phone. And it's doing all kinds of things on the phone, not just apps. So only 127 minutes of that is on the apps. I don't know what people are doing the other 70 some odd minutes.
Per day?
That's per day, yeah. And this is per day also. So I don't know what are the other 73 minutes. What are they doing? Using the phone, maybe? I don't know. So each phone generally has 36 apps on it, and so mine has probably a little more than that. But I only used a couple of them. The rest of these are probably the ones that came with the phone from AT&T or something. I've used primarily the phone, maps, Facebook maybe, Pokemon Go, and then a quarter of the apps on the device are never used. Now those are still better than most because in the grand store, 60% of the apps are never downloaded. So, and then that's not necessarily a bad thing. We all want to say, okay, my app has 10,000 downloaders. That's cool, right? But 10,000 of 189 million a day, that's not very big, but you don't need to be very big. But there's 3 ways to make money in the app world, right? You can sell an app for 99 cents a piece. So if you download 1,000, that's $1,000, so, or whatever happens in life is the end. So plus you got to give 30% to the Irish government. The other way is you can sell ads in your app. So basically, those 1,000 people who are looking at the ad, you're making like pennies per month or something. So not a whole lot of money. The third way is someone pay you to write the app. Like they're getting an app back there. So that's the best way to make money, I think. Because it never has to go to the store, and you still got paid. Because it's just an enterprise app. It may skip the store entirely and go through an enterprise deployment, or just some other way to deploy an app, pass the APK around. But someone's paid you already. And you don't have a lot of downloads. And your app is probably meeting some really important goal, like transporting food or some other thing. So there's other, don't be disappointed if your app doesn't make the grid. Why do some of those apps end up in that gray area that never get downloaded or played with or used? They can be slow and laggy. They can crash a lot. They say that if your app crashes twice, no one's coming back. People are just moving on. Because there's plenty of other apps that I can go find that do something similar. It's a bad experience. So when the web first came out, people migrated their mainframe apps to the web. So you have this web-based app that looks just like the mainframe app because that's what the boss wanted. Well, then when mobile came out, people had eventually improved the website, so they moved the website to the mobile. So you have basically a small website on a phone. So the experience doesn't take full advantage of this expensive product they bought. So it's got a bad experience. Plus the features may not be there. I have this new Moto 360 watch, and they have all these apps to put all these different faces on there. So I saw a face that I liked, downloaded the app to put it on there. It's in everything. It got my phone list, my GPS location, but it would never put another face on the watch. So that was my thing. And then finally, data not available. So we're in a mapping world. We're depending on our app to tell us where we are, where to go. If that went away, we'd be really frustrated. And there's all kinds of other data. So we're assuming our app is always connected. And most of the apps we use, those 14%, those 0.25%, are well written. We're used to them working just right. Well, what are they doing right? They're using this infrastructure that's laid out for us. Now, most of the people east of the Mississippi are green, except if we zoomed in right here, there's a little white spot. That's my living room. I don't get any. And there's some weird, way up in western Ontario, there's some road that just like, for some great distance, you have no internet for some reason. You know, so
you're about a minute away from being eaten by a bear.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's the polar bear blocking the tower. And if you're further west, you're probably trying to escape society. All right, so let's go take the back end to the future. Now, this was last year at the Back to the Future Day, right? Because it was 30 years in the future. So I went shopping for a hoverboard, and all I found was old Marty and even an older Doc. But there are plenty of options for establishing your back end. I'm here to do the hurrah for Azure, but you can see there's plenty of others with various levels of cool icons. I have no idea what that IBM one is. Maybe it's a light bulb or something. Looks like one of those electronic mosquito things. Looks like tennis racket. All right, why Azure? Azure, when I'm presenting on Azure, I feel like the guy at Costco who's in that booth, and he's demonstrating whether it's a vacuum cleaner or some mixer. And the mixer is this huge, powerful thing. It seems like impossible. You don't even have to peel the banana. You don't have to de-seed the apple. Heck, throw the coring knife in there. It'll grind that up too, and make some pure, vegetable-based beverage that's gluten-free. It seems too good to be true. Well, that seems like that's what Azure does. You go in there, and I'm used to coding, like in Java world. You got to grow your own wheat, then you got to harvest it, then you got to grind it, and eventually you get bread somewhere. They just hand you the bread. It's already baked, and it's powerful. So when you're running the stuff, it works. It's flexible. So if I need just a table now, I can just get a table, and then if I outgrow that, I can have a whole SQL server or some other data backend. It's got all these app services that I can turn on as I start to add things to my app. Things I didn't even think of I could do, they're on there. And then it's all in C# or Node.js or some other flavor of stuff. I prefer the C#. So that's why I'm here suggesting Azure, not just because I work for Microsoft. I was an Azure hoorah person before. So this is we've seen a similar colored picture today, how many, about 50 of these so far, where it has a bunch of things across the top and some nice color blue underneath, so. And then I'll take you to the website where we can see this exact same one I'm gonna show you in a moment. But this pictorially shows what Azure can give you. Now, it says REST API. REST API we've been using for 10, 15, 20 years. So we're used to using the same metaphor for doing things. Well, through the same REST API, we can now do all these things. We can get our data connections to a variety of data connection types. We can do all kinds of things in the background, whether it's Microsoft or some other buddy's product. User authentication. Now, each of these platforms has a method of writing these yourself. You can just go straight to Facebook into your authentication. On the iPhone, it's really easy to use the device. Or you can use the REST API through Azure and just call it one path to do all the authentication there. Inside Azure, you set these things up with the various keys you get from those vendors. And then same thing with push notifications. Writing your push notifications on Apple is difficult. And if you figure out how to do it, you become an expert, really important guy. Same thing with Android, it's a whole nother hat. And then Windows and Kindle, but you can do it right through the same REST API, just follow the instructions on the website, and there you go. And then if that's not enough, it has synchronization built in. Now, you mentioned synchronization is not powerful enough, this version, to do a much larger data set. It might take some time, but it is running in the background. So, and we're not going to synchronize our entire data set, so he's fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not really interested in what's happening fishing in the Pacific region, so I may not download that. So how do you structure your app to just synchronize the stuff you need right now, some smaller set, to accommodate the larger data set? So you can do that, and then we also let you add your own stuff. So there's all kinds of little tools in the background. You can add your own back-end kind of functionality. If you want to do, like we were doing a process where we'd upload some data off of a watch or something. We're sending some stuff up to the IoT hub, and it crunches some numbers. And it, based upon some analysis, determines maybe you're sleepy or something. And that's doing it all here. It pushes it back out through the same API. All right, to wire up your app to a mobile service is simply that. Now, it's actually easier than this, because we'll go in a moment to the actual website, when you create a mobile app in Azure, it gives you the application, it gives you the software solution. So it's already in there with your URL, which is, they're always the same except for this little piece right there. So it's already done for you, and they give you both for doing a mobile app, you need the service layer that this app will call, which actually resides in that location. Then they also give you the Forms app, or whichever flavor you choose. Already in a solution, you just open it up, and it shows you everything you need to do to connect to. In the sample app, just one table. Then you can just extend that with your own tables. So to create a table inside your app, you have an interface. So you define an interface. That's anything that starts with an I. And then you, the version they're showing us here, building one that has sync already built in. The sample they give you has a compiler code in there that lets you tell it whether sync is turned on, and it does different sets of code based upon if sync is turned on or not. And then so the second step to create the table is you initialize sync, and that get sync table, that's what it actually creates the table, either locally and remotely. But if it's already on the remote, it just does the local. Okay, to get data, it's as simple as the table. Let's back up one. This table here, you can't tell here, but it's a variable we can see outside of this context. So here we call table to enumerable async. That's the local table, and if it doesn't exist locally, it doesn't pull async to get it off the website if it's something local. And then vice versa, when we're going to add data to the table. We first hydrate a class of store, which is probably a list of stores or something. So we're adding a new public location, right? And first we insert it locally, and then like on GitHub, we then synchronize it with the revoke at that point, and then we push it back up, the synchronized version back up to the website. All right, so let's actually go into Azure and see how this is done. Now, what's nice about Azure is it's well documented, and the documentation, Azure rolls out a new feature pretty much every time you log in. There's a new tweak or feature added. And so when you log into Azure for the first time, why can't you see that? It looks great on my screen. What's that? Very good. So you couldn't see me like stumbling around inside the website. All right, so I clicked on the little square thing over there. If you click on this, it explodes it out. I clicked on all resources, and then it divides it up into specific resources. So as you get more things in here, that list gets really long. So you can narrow down to the particular resource you're looking for. So for instance, your SQL servers or your subscriptions or virtual machines. Well, I created one earlier called DevDays Campus. Let's walk through how I did that. Some of these things take a while to add, so that's why I went ahead and did it ahead of time. So when you say add, when you click on add, there's a whole list of things you can add. These are just the ones that we're trying to push because they're most popular. But if I type in mobile, so up come all the ones that contain something about mobile. And there's all kinds of things that I don't know anything about. But there's mobile engagement, mobile app quick start. Let's click on mobile app. That's a little more advanced. Just give me a quick overview of what it's going to do. I give it a name, so we'll call it StarkReactor. I do own the domain name. And then in Azure, everything has a resource group, and a resource group is sort of like a whole lump of things, so you can keep track of different things you're doing. So you can clump everything into the same resource group, but then you sort of lose track of how much each thing is costing you. And if you want to shut something down, you can shut it down by a resource group. So I'll create a new resource group. That name is taken. So I have number 2 is one. Alrighty, so we'll say create, but it's not really creating just yet. Deployment started. Now it's still in this create phase, but it's really actually running up here. So we'll watch this deployment thing. So it's deploying a couple servers, a couple widgets, and a couple compressor hoppers and residues. So sometimes when you click on one of these to deploy, like I created a SharePoint server farm. And I created a whole bunch of things, like 50, 60 different servers and domain controllers. All right, it's done. So if I click away from that, click back on all resources. Should be one called StarkReactor 2. So I will click on that. And then, remember in that code we saw that there's a little URL in there that said only one part of the changes? Well, there it is. So the name I gave it, StarkReactor2.azurewebsites.net. That's my URL that I will use in my API. Now it doesn't, I can go there, but it just tells me that the site is live, I believe. But I haven't actually deployed yeah. It says this web app has been successfully created. Once I deploy the API code, it'll say my mobile app is running. Okay, so inside here, I will click on Quick Start. Are we slipping from the pizza yet? No? Okay. Good. All right, so here we are. It's done. These are the options that it gives us to start, right? So I can't think of anything else I want to do anything in besides forms. So, but they put it there anyway. So Objective-C, Android if you're into paying. My son published an app the other day, and I didn't realize it was in there, but it said his app was compliant with 12,000 different versions of Android. Like, wow. So, my phone that I downloaded on was not one of them. All right, so my data has to be somewhere, so I need a connection straight. But I need to tell it what data connection is first. So I need to create a data connection. And then I'll choose a SQL database. Because in addition to my API that I'm going to run, there's other stuff my app's going to be doing. It's coming from some management website that's going to define trucks or something. And then, so part of that will be the API that my app consumes and interfaces with. Now I've created a server already here. I could theoretically use that one, but let's create a new one. So let's give the database name of Stark because I can. And then it's available. Ooh. And then pricing tier. Okay, there's a couple to choose from. Can I borrow your credit card again? So that's like with 50 DTUs, whatever DTUs. So it may be more than we need for demonstration purposes. Yeah. All right, we'll go with this one. Yeah, what's the DTU though?
Data transfer unit?
Yeah,
I just made
what is
it up.
that?
I don't know, I just made it up. I heard it.
Yeah, pretty close. That sounds like they just made it up too. So, yeah, and if, whichever one we pick, we can always change that. And then there's different support levels for each one of those. So it's the couple up, it costs some money. It's backed up, you know, a regular job would back up the database, what, every night? Yeah, or hopefully, right? This is backed up like all the time, so I could roll back to a moment ago. Not on that free level, but you know, for the one that's further up.
Like $4.99.
Yeah, maybe $499, I don't know. But definitely the 1800. 1800, probably like, it's my silver platter. Here you go. All right, so I picked the free tier. That's good. And then I want to do my settings. So the SQL Server doesn't exist by itself. You have to put it on a server itself. You don't have a server in the name. So I've created I've already have a server. I can put it on that one and have two SQL servers running on the same box. Or I can create a new one. Let's tell these because it takes a while to create a server. We'll put it on that one. Although it won't let me. So, no. Coming for the free thing, you can put one on there at a time. So we'll give it another minute. And then ID and password. And then the password has to be something complicated, but also something you can remember. Because there's no way to like see it. And then we can put it in Western Europe or someplace closer. But at least, it's traveling at the speed of light. I don't know quite why region is that important. It seems to be faster. So if they say it's faster, it's more it's less distant. So I picked all those, and I picked SQL Latin. And then, so we have we stood up our, we're standing. right, so we're data connection create is what we're stuck on now, so they'll be back in a moment. And when this is done, our app is done. If all we want is a to-do table, our app is done. We can send our bill to the office and they'll pay it. So, and it's both the website that drives the API and also the Xamarin Forms. Those will both be done when that is done. So, like she does on the cooking show, I'm going to just go pull something right out of the oven, and it's done. So we have this app that I did earlier today during Bill's great presentation, and I've actually already opened it up in this is the web service. So it's created all the stuff we need for us. It's the model for the one table in there. So if we wanted to add more tables at this point, we could, unless the data not tick. We have a to-do item. So it's a table with two things in there, text, and it's whether it's complete or not. And then when I first opened this up, I had to reestablish my data connections, my new packages. I had to do a right click and restore packages. And then let's see what's referencing. It's got a whole lot of Microsoft Azure mobile things in there. So it's got notification hubs built in already. Those apparently need to be refreshed. So it's got all that built in for us. So if you could theoretically take this and extend your existing app, or take your existing website that you already have and start adding these things in. Now, this runs on my PC, but I need to publish it to the server. Now, I can either, I have to pick one of these and then all these little boxes that you have to put, we have two things in there like server name, ID and password, which is all just dots. Or I can import. Now, it kind of goes behind where they don't even tell you where it is. So I will tell you in VR secret. So in the overview tab up here, there's a more button. There's plenty of room there. I don't know why they put it under the more button. But it says get published profile. Now this is the published profile for the one we just created. So if I use that one, it won't work. So I will use back here. This is the one I created earlier. So I'll grab this published profile. So in my where is it? All right, so it added all these things in there for me. I don't remember typing that, but apparently when I did, I put a password in. So it's generated it for me. And there's a couple other settings in there that are distinct from a traditional web deploy. The web deploy is what we use to publish websites to Azure. This is something behind the scenes is slightly different. So if you did know what the password was, it wouldn't quite publish correctly. So I click publish. It's actually going to push it up to the one I created earlier. Now every time you publish a website, there's an SCM file where you can manage the website. Yeah, we get the right page. So only, and it was generated really fast. So that's how fast it is. Okay, remember that site we saw earlier that the website is running? Now it says your app is running. What's this? There, see it? Wait. That's technology. So our mobile app is up and running. So now, if we were to run our Android version, Now, on my machine, I don't know if it's everybody's machine, but if I'm running Edge, and I try to start like Visual Studio and Android Emulator, it chugs along for a while, then eventually tells me I can't do this. So if I turn Edge off, it does it every time. I did talk to the guy who invented this. Because it messed up some section of my Stuff32 folder, WM something, and he had to go pick up my machine and fix it. All right, so while that's booting up, let's look at the mobile app. So it creates a project for us that has Droid, iOS, UWP, and in each of the projects, it references the Windows Azure library. So there it is again. This one has an extension on there for Android. So that has to go in each of your projects. And then the code I showed you earlier, where there's the local version of the table. And it's decorated with some JSON properties. Is the JSON.ll attribute tab. And here's that. Here's some of this code we saw earlier. And it does both things. So depending upon, you have a switch set to turn on your sync, and if its sync is enabled, it'll do these, which is that one we saw earlier where it has like sync in the object name. There's the interface that it's calling, and then there's the local data store. So it does both for you right out of the box. And there it is initializing the database. So quite handy. And we're up and running. Some marshmallows. We haven't given away any stuff yet. Well, that's because that takes a while to come out.
We could have a raffle for those.
And when we get down to one, we'll raffle off the last one. These are koozies, highly important for maintaining beverage temperature in our sunny Florida. So, look how the cool weather is here.
So that code you were showing earlier.
The what?
In that code you were showing earlier, there was a create query method that's what you call
Yeah,
it.
the create query, that's a bit obtuse to me. So, you know, and that brings up good segue. Well, it's already got. Segue to go to Azure.net. Documentation. So, what's it, RTFM? So, now what's nice about the documentation is if you go search the internet for, I want to do a mobile website in Azure, you find somebody's presentation from 6 months ago. Well, in Azure world, that's like 9 years. So there's all kinds of new stuff coming out. So if we click on, and this is in documentation, there's a whole bunch of topics over here. Azure does everything. You can do your Active Directory posted on there. You can do your SharePoint hosted on there. You can do all kinds of things on there. So that's beyond today's conversation. But so click on mobile apps. There's getting started using. We'll learn about mobile apps. This is pretty much this presentation. And then there's various versions of Xamarin. So you get the Xamarin iOS, Xamarin Android, Xamarin Forms. So if you click on that, it walks you through specifically what each of those does. So I suggest doing that. Yeah, because it's that code. You ever use MVC, the website thing? Yeah, the mobile app on Azure is very much the same way. It's based upon how you name things and where they are. So the controller in MVC knows that the index page is in the particular folder because of the way you named it. Strictly because of it. So there's all this little magic that happens in NetAPI or something in the background that drives all that. Well, the same people who did that apparently did this. There's a whole lot of naming structure that you name the same thing a certain way, and it just does something. and that part's not terribly well documented. So you wonder why it, question?
I was just gonna say, like in MVC, that can be overridden, you can customize that.
Oh, delightful,
That
yeah.
in.
Yeah, so there's that one thing in that global area, so, yeah. So, so there's a lot of magic that happens, and that's one of those things. So if you noticed in that line of code, there was a string in front that gave me create. Actually, somebody here. No, that line right there, right?
Right, was that,
Yeah,
was that
so
the
it's,
parameter?
apparently this line is important, is it'll remember that. So that should just be unique based upon what you're doing. Like right here, we're doing all stores in this one. So, if it was to be like, you know, top 10 stores, we would call it top 10 stores. And then maybe in there you put the actual, what signifies the top 10 stores. So you probably some after expression.
Yeah, that's one of my questions, so that's where you control what's the subset.
Yeah, how more specific that is, right? Because this is just great query, be like probably everything. So in here or next to it, you might put the actual query and stuff. I think.
It's not, I thought that the query was already on the SWOT, and you just call it from there.
You mean in here?
Yeah. That's the name of the query. you
That's the
already
name.
had on.
Well, it's also used here. The same all stores there, so it pulls it again. So
But again,
Are there any other magic strings you can put in there?
it's just a string. All strings are magic in this case. What the magic is? Yeah, I don't know. So that's why the further reading is available on the website. Okay, so we have the first and second item. We noticed I didn't do any typing in there. This is first and second item. Anybody do any EF code first development?
Yes.
And that's pretty painful too, isn't it?
Yes.
The first time the code first works great. The code second, when you want to make a change to a table, that's a bit painful. So in the code on the website, there's some seed lines. I'll show you that. So you can see, like a code table or something, you want to throw some list of states in there or something. This is where you do it. That was in there somewhere. So there's where I do my seed. So it's even the same, they brought the code over from MVC, it's the same command instruction and stuff. You can seed your table there. So that's why in the mobile app, we already have two of them in there. So if I do add another one, it added another one. So you have a fully functional app. So if your customer only wanted to do this, you just got an app. So that's how easy that is. So in addition to switching back to the presentation, okay, so this is slide number 18. So we still have like 440 to go, right? Because there's so much more to do. Like there's more slides that look like this. So we got the client server stuff. Now, we have the data that we're synchronizing. So when data gets synchronized, like you add a new store, I want to know about it. We got the, before I can add the store, before we can add the store, we got to authenticate, because we don't show anybody just grabbing stuff and inserting it. We can authenticate, we talked about this briefly when that picture was up, authenticate using any of the standard ones people are accustomed to. And people trust Facebook, whether they should or not, Twitter, Google, but they trust it a lot more than they trust me. This is just new app they just downloaded. How much do I trust Stark Network to when I give them my personal information? What, they're not going to sell us something. But if I'm using Facebook to authenticate, okay, them I know. You know. So that's why we push people use that. So push notifications. So he's up inserted a new store. Let's tell me about new stores in your neighborhood or something. So we can wire up using Azure push notifications. Now, on a project I'm on now, see, at the beginning of projects, they said we want push notifications. We want to send messages to you. Okay. Then about halfway in, they think, well, we don't want to send them immediately. We want to sprinkle them out. Like first of every month, they get a reminder of safety. So we built in a page where they could insert this text that they're going to send out, choose the date they're going to send it, and in Azure, we're running 2 jobs. One just polls all the time, every few minutes, to see if there's something pending. And then we have a table out there that stores that and says, okay, there's going to be one that runs needs to run now. We run it. So we've extended this even further.
The push notification also costs money.
Cost money?
Yeah.
In the realm of things, probably not much. Yeah. You can want to.
Many BT.
Yeah, that's the server for the SharePoint farm. That'll burn through some money in a hurry. The IoT hub can turn some ticks also. Yeah. But you're getting a lot of bang for buck. So that'd be worth it. Now, in addition to pushing data, we also want to push monkeys. All right, we're gonna push monkeys. So you can push other things besides data, synchronize them back and forth. You can synchronize pictures, audio files, videos. So if you're in some app that's doing something like that, recording audio or something, or video, like on the trucking app we're working on, we're gonna have a camera mounted, so every once in a while we'll synchronize those photos up when the truck crashes. And so monkey, he didn't quite know the story behind the monkey. Anybody know why Xamarin and monkey are one?
It's so good that it's bananas.
Yeah, you go bananas for it. That's a good answer. Yeah.
Mono is Spanish.
Mono, very good. Mono is Spanish for cute. It's also Spanish for monkey. And when Mono and Android, when Xamarin first came out, Miguel de Casa, who's from Mexico, so monkey, he wrote something called Mono, and that was the Mono framework that originally did Linux. So then when Apple went to Linux, like, oh, thank goodness, yeah, because Linux people don't buy anything. So Mono, and also Xamarin has some monkey that's named Xamarin or something. Now the funny thing about Miguel is when he tells Siri to say, pull up my Xamarin presentation, it pulls up a salmon presentation. He has a slight accent. So at one of the conferences he had instead of monkeys, his had salmon. That's the story behind that. And all right, so that segues me into the pizza coming when it did. Really, I had an opening joke. It was kind of good. So time for lunch. So I got a blog, Stark Network, Stark Reactors, the blog, and my Michael at Go Stark. So there's one more person after me. It's Blizzard, and he's going to tell us how he started Virgin Atlantic. But while he's coming up, do we have any more elevator pitches? Do we want to say anything? You got a pitch?
No, but I'd just like to rather hear about the Sex Pistols.
What?
It's like nobody knows that's what he started. That's how he got money to buy airplanes. He was the manager of the Sex Pistols.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were Virgin was their label.
Yes, sir. So it looks like those little tiny little label. Yeah, but that group wasn't that popular. How did he make that much money?
They're not that popular. They're the greatest punk rock band ever.
Yeah, but
They're immensely popular. I love them.
you do. Name one song.
One song. By
the
Sex
Sex
Pistols.
Oh, he's gonna play a song by the Sex Pistols. First time, how many heard a song by the Sex Pistols played on an accordion? I am an antichrist. I am an anarchist. I know what I want, and now to get it, I want to destroy the passerby, 'cause I wanna be anarchy.
That's a market.